p.m. Could I have a roll call and establishment of a quorum, please?
Mike Wagner.
Here.
Cindy Byteen. Here. Gary Demashki.
Here.
James Cartman.
Here.
Mary Bechtel.
Here.
And Matt Crowe.
Here.
All right, I have proof of posting. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, 1.5 is approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Mike and Matt?
All right, any questions? Hearing none. Mike?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. We're on to 2.1, approval of the Board of Education meeting minutes from May 11th of 2020.
I'll make a motion to approve those meeting minutes, please.
I'll second.
I'll get it out again.
All right, and Mike seconded?
Mike with the second.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or changes to those meeting minutes? All right, hearing none. Mike?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. All right, we're on to agenda item number 4. Unless anyone has any objections, I will look to...
Hold on.
3.1.
3.1.
Oh, did I miss one? Sorry. Okay, 3.1. Sorry about that. 3.1 is action to end the temporary suspension of in-person public input effective at the June 8, 2020 board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mike and Mary Beth?
Okay, does anybody have any questions about this?
Come on down. Anyone and everyone.
All right, hearing no questions. Mike?
Yes.
Barb? Cindy?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Okay, we're on to district business personnel. I'm looking to combine 4.1 through 4.5.
So moved. Second. Second.
Oh,
Sorry, Matt.
Matt beat you to it, Gary.
Okay. Hey, if I could just ask though, do the administrators have anything to say about any of the candidates, anything going on for informational purposes?
Admin crew, I know that you're on there. I know Matt is in a IEP meeting right now, so he is not in the Zoom meeting, but I don't know if any of the other principals or directors have anything to put in regarding Lindsay Stratton, the elementary school counselor, or Sydney, the first grade teacher.
Yeah, I can speak about Sydney if you're looking for something. It was kind of a shock. We actually had about almost 35, I can't remember, close to 35 people apply for this position, which is kind of huge in this day and age, it seems. And so we interviewed 8 of those 35, and we're torn between 3. But you know, what puts Sydney above the rest is really her commitment. Her references were fantastic, and really her energy and really positive attitude that really I just again feel like is going to fit in really well with us. We're really excited to have her join us at Black Earth this year. We're looking forward to it.
Good to hear. That's what I'm looking for.
Got it.
Thanks, Scott.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll speak in regards to Lindsay. Comes to us with a nice experience. She's got a nice background. We interviewed, I want to say 5 candidates. So we had a nice pool of candidates that we interviewed. Lindsay kind of came out on top of that pool of candidates. So we're looking forward to having her join our elementary staff on fall.
Awesome. Thanks, Dale.
Any other questions on any of the either resignations or the hires?
Can I make a comment on that?
Mary Beth would like to make a
I'd
comment.
like to make a comment. We thank Trevor for his many years as senior class advisor. He was that is a tremendous amount of work, and he was outstanding. between he and Kim, they're just a wonderful pair. He did a great job.
I'll second those kudos to Trevor, and then Mark Sullivan as well. Was a nice contribution to our middle school team. Brought a lot of experience, and then actually Mark's wife, who was not employed in a formal level necessarily, other than some long-term subbing jobs, but they were both just good people to have in the district and have done a good job. So we appreciate what they brought to Wisconsin Heights and wish them luck as they make a pretty major family move to the south. So best of luck to them.
Hey, and just so Ivy's not the only one who doesn't get something. I will say, Ivy's done some work for us in the past, coaching track, and she did some work advising our spirit team, our spirit club last year, which they did some really good things that year. And just every single answer that she had in the interview was about the kids, and like her passion for kids and teaching kids is, by far the thing that helped her stand above the rest. And we had some, very qualified candidates. That's the part that the other candidates didn't have. She's going to get her teaching degree right now. She works in education. Currently, she's worked in rec departments and coordinated, and so she's got some experience with kids, but it's the passion, that intangible that, really helped her stand out. So super excited that she's going to join our coaching staff.
Thank you,
Not
Ann.
to be left out, because, now I feel lonely here. We are really going to miss both Mark Sullivan as a science teacher and Jennifer Sullivan as a sub. She did 2 long-term subs for us. She did 6th grade math and this last fall, family and consumer sciences. And Mark has been a true professional from the start. It was nice to have someone with his caliber of experience in the middle school. And they're going to be hard to replace, but duty calls with the family, and there's a grandbaby waiting at the other end of this journey, so can't say that I blame them.
Now I'm feeling the love. Thanks for chiming in.
Thanks for doing that, Gary. That's nice, actually, because that's one thing that we typically get without even asking for it. When you're in a face-to-face setting, it's a little easier to just kind of chime in, and when we're connected here virtually, it's a little more awkward and difficult. So I appreciate you asking those questions, and for everyone else to chime in and to share like that.
You bet. Awesome.
All right, well, thank you guys for your input. We have a first and a second for this one, so if nobody has anything else, we'll go ahead and vote. Mike?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mary Beth? Matt?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. All right, we're on to District Business Finance. 5.1 is action to approve the 2020-2021 insurance policies with Tricor.
So moved. Second.
Matt had the second on that. Mike made the motion.
Okay, any discussion? All right, hearing none. Mike?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. We're on to 6.1, which is action to approve the WIAA membership for the 2020-2021 school year.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mary Beth and Matt had the second.
Okay, any discussion?
I was just curious if they've talked at all about fall sports at all yet, or?
Yeah, but I would say just like everything else, particularly for the fall, there's just so much unknown right now with, what are the restrictions going to be, how open will things be, is there any delineation between what you would call like a non-contact sport and a contact sport. There has been some general guidance issued by like the National Federation, Andy, I don't know if you want to chime in with anything else, because I do know you've corresponded with the WIA and some of your colleagues regarding that topic as well.
Yeah, and it's basically the same answer you're gonna get with everything. It's, you know, we're gonna wait and see, nothing's been, decided and no real timeline either. Yeah, I did talk to Dave Anderson, WIA, just to try to feel him out for, you know, what he thought of the NFHS guidelines, which are pretty restrictive and, you know, pretty daunting to look at. You know, doesn't, you know, inspire a ton of confidence, but, you know, we did have, the WIA does have their doctor that's on their board, did, you know, weigh in on those, so, you know, long story short, I'd say it's too early to tell, but we're definitely anticipating some, you know, potentially drastic changes, and, you know, we will have talked to our coaches, and we know that that's a possibility, and we'll plan for it accordingly, and we'll, you know, make the best of, you know, the situation, given the guidelines were provided, so we'll wait and see.
Good answer.
That's not really an answer, but
I'll give you right now.
it is what it is right now, so.
Yeah.
Well, we're still in the WIA, not the playoffs.
All right, does anybody have any other questions or comments about this? All right, hearing none. Mike?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Okay, we're on to 7.1, which is action to approve the school district calendars for the 2020, 2021, and 2021, 2022 school years.
So moved. Second.
Mike and then Matt had the second.
Okay, any questions or discussion about this, guys?
Is this essentially just going back to the proposed one, the initial stages, or were there just never any changes made, and now we're just finalizing it?
Yeah, no, so the notes in the agenda, so for 2021, we did make some changes, which I labeled minor. So parent-teacher conferences on what was approved 2 years ago were on October 22nd. We moved that to October 21st, and then moved the teacher workday. There was a workday earlier in October. We moved that to the 22nd to kind of put that together. The reason, well, there was multiple reasons, but the primary reason that we did that was Professional Learning Communities has a institute in Madison that's supposed to run October 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Now, we're cautiously optimistic that that'll be able to happen, but if it can happen, the nice part is we've, in collaboration with our staff members, have identified approximately 20 staff members that don't typically get a huge turnout for parent-teacher conferences and could reschedule the few conferences that they do have. And then that would allow us to send approximately 20 teachers to the PLC Institute when it's in Madison. Clearly for us, huge savings. We're not paying for hotels, we're paying very minimal for travel. We had set a goal that we wanted to try to get all of our teachers to a PLC Institute by the end of the 21-22 school year. So this was just an effort to make some minor changes to the schedule that we thought would better accommodate. And then even from a family standpoint, to have that block of 3 days together rather than spread out. Maybe a early fall getaway or something like that, late October. So yeah, those were the changes made to 2021. And then in 21-22, we basically just cast the schedule forward and updated with corresponding dates for that next year. But it's just nice to get something out there as people start preliminary planning. Clearly, if we've learned anything this year, it's we need to be flexible, but at the same time, it's just nice to have something out there. Any other questions regarding calendar?
All right, hearing none. Mike?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth,
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Okay, we're on to 8.1, which is action to approve the updated district policies.
So moved.
Second.
So we had these on the agenda at our last meeting, at the discussion-focused agenda. Those were on there in draft form. We had a few pieces that we discussed at the last meeting. If these get approved tonight, then I will get a hold of Neola and let them know to update our online policy book. Just fair warning on this one, there will probably be more policy updates sooner than later, just with everything that's happening right now. They're trying to respond as quickly as they can, which, once again, I would say just reaffirms the decision that the board made 3 years ago to work with Neola on policy updates, because their legal counsel and the resources they have is able to keep us kind of on the forefront as things change at the state and federal level. So these updates, if approved, will go into effect as soon as the book is updated, and like I said, fair warning, we'll probably have more updates in the next month or so.
All right, does anybody have any questions about any of them? Okay. Hearing none. Mike?
Yes.
Barb?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. All right. So we are on to 9.1, which is set committee and or board meeting dates as needed.
So I guess I just wanted to talk a little bit about a few logistics. Number one, we voted tonight to end our temporary suspension of in-person public comments with the transition into the forward Dane plan and just the way things are kind of evolving right now. That seemed like the right time to do that. This would have been the end of the Safer at Home order at the state level as well, which was repealed. So that's one piece, but then the next piece, I guess, somewhat connected to kind of board meeting setup and direction, is does the board want to continue with what I've called the hybrid meeting, where we run a combination of an in-person and an online board meeting? There's no reason we cannot do that. So I just wanted to put that out there for consideration for tonight. It's not something that we formally need to vote on. We do have this flexibility within our policies, but I just wanted to put that out there to see if there was any discussion or preference amongst the board, because we do have a discussion-focused meeting in 13 days, so the planning will start tomorrow for that meeting. So I don't know if anyone has any comments or feedback or preferences regarding the structure of our next board meeting.
That was one of the questions I had as well, kind of along the same lines, Jordan, thinking that, we are gonna be opening it up again to the public. If it's easier to have less people in the step room to spread out everybody, I'm happy to stay here and kind of do it this way, but, I'm open to either way. Another 13 days, hopefully we can keep getting past a few things, one day at a time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, ditto for me as well. Yep. Well said, Cindy, thanks.
Barb wants to talk, pause. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, my preference is always face-to-face, in person. I think you just lose a lot of the dialogue and kind of the focus, and I would never mandate that anybody come if they don't feel comfortable, but I certainly think in this time especially, where we have a lot to discuss and a lot to work through, that it's a little segmented and it doesn't feel quite like, not to say equal participation, but just to, it's different when not everybody's in the same room, feeling that, maybe everything is getting discussed wholeheartedly like it could, but that's just my preference and personality, and especially when we're diving into some of the facility stuff, it's harder.
And on a very simple level, I miss the pre and post camaraderie of seeing people in person.
The human element.
No handshakes or hugs, though.
Yes.
No?
So what we would do, we did have our final meeting before we went to this structure. We set up the boardroom, and we're still able to, I think, recognize social distancing to the best extent possible. If we have the admin in the room, the step room is certainly big enough that we can get 6 feet of separation between individuals. If we have community members that show up, we could accommodate a pretty large number of them as well and still respect social distancing guidelines. So I think what I'm hearing is we are okay with proceeding with in-person meetings again in June. If I'm hearing incorrectly, let me know. If not, that's what I will plan on. And once again, there's nothing that, if it just doesn't feel right in a week and for some reason someone really wants to still have this flexibility, there's no reason why we cannot do that. It won't necessitate a policy change or something else. I just wanted to know what the preference was. Along those lines, for the discussion-focused meeting on June 8th, have a few items that are very timely, and I think will probably fill our cup for that night. So one thing will be employee relations. We will have the handbook updates, basically in I'll call it a final draft format. We've gone back and forth and discussed some things. Have shared with the staff that we're certainly not exploring any seismic shifts to anything in the handbook. So we'll put that in front of the board for just a consideration on June 8th, and then bring that back at the second meeting in June for formal action. So that'll give the board a chance to discuss those items and see if they have any interest in discussing things at a deeper level. The obvious one is PR, and then just kind of communication plans and items regarding facility planning to keep that conversation going and that dialogue. Administratively, our admin team will be providing updates regarding our school improvement planning, the lovely acronym of SIP, and then just kind of end of the year updates in terms of how the year wrapped up in this most unique situation. And then we had said previously and put it on our calendars that we would get updates from our manager level positions twice a year, which was December and June. Well, it's now June. So Bill Sullivan, Scott Wixer, and Rachel Elliott will provide updates regarding technology and then maintenance. So we will have many updates. The board will have 2 key things to look at in the employee handbook, and then communication plans and public relations. Are there other items that board members feel need to be included in that committee of the whole discussion?
I'm just kind of curious, even though this meeting isn't designed to be discussion, it's action, does that mean that we won't discuss things, or that that's off the table and it's strictly action-based, or there's openness to be flexible with that, or?
I don't want to answer for the board because they're
I
more
don't know.
meetings.
Well, so what particularly are you talking
Well,
about?
I mean, I sent out the email about the communication thing, and clearly we're in a little bit of a standstill with Doreen. And to me, it's concerning that if we have a month in between these huge discussions, I mean, here we are, you know, a month in after the initial discussion, it's kind of like, well, it's almost June, and if we're already doing more research, focus groups, feedback, I mean, if we're really on this track with facilities, it's concerning to me that we would wait and stagger and solely do the discussions at the discussions, where some of this stuff could be a little bit more.
So I think Barb was asking, is there any updates with Doreen and that, and is there anything that we can do between now and June 8th that will kind of make us feel like we're staying on track or staying on task, right? Is that what you said?
That's a direct question, but then also too, following it as that maybe we need to, if specifically speaking with our facility and communication planning, that has to be an every meeting thing that we touch on, and not just saving it for a huge discussion, and then kind of waiting to talk about it, and then waiting to regroup, and, because a month has gone by, and
Well, I guess what I can say to that is at the last meeting, I talked about holding a separate meeting to talk about this if we feel like we need to, but I also talked about respecting your time, and I had mentioned executive session, and Jordan pointed out that our executive sessions, we can't talk about things like that. That has to be more geared towards if we have a personnel issue or a finance issue. So I just wanted to clarify, if we want to talk about the communication part of it, it either needs to happen during our discussion, or we will hold like a board workshop meeting on a separate day, and we can kind of.
But I guess what I'm saying is, if these meetings are only gonna be 20 minutes usually, is there any reason why we can't, on this night, have just a follow-up workshop, a follow-up discussion, or have it just be a part of the meeting, or,
We can,
we're all
we just-
here?
Yeah, we can, we just have to agree to do it, is all.
Okay.
So,
But you can ask the direct question. Because you brought it up.
well, I mean,
Yeah, and I mean, I trust that everyone saw their email, so that's a major curveball. But despite that, in communicating with Doreen almost on a daily basis, probably for the last month, she has other colleagues within her organization that are doing things in her absence that she needs to tend to her family needs. So there was two draft items that I had reviewed late last week and gotten back to her with some feedback. One was the document that we had gone through at the last committee meeting, but then put into a more graphic or visual type document, not just text. So I offered some feedback on that and was waiting kind of a final / clean-ish copy of that. And then there was another one that was more of, rather than text, it was more of like an interactive PDF document where it just had little bullet points or just very little text, but then pictures. And then, it mentioned we had done the future search in 2018. Well, now you could click on the link in this PDF and it would take you to the strategic directions that we have from the future search. There was things talked about the facility planning, same thing, you click on the interactive link, it would take you to the results. So those were the two pieces that, like I said, were being worked on at the end of last week, and we were trying to, and she even emailed me tonight, we're trying to get set up for a quick phone conversation to just get a clean copy of that to me so I can then pass that on to you. When we did the structural piece on the discussion-focused, action-focused meetings, I certainly don't think that precludes us. Either way, it doesn't, because we didn't change anything in policy that prohibits that. The one thing that, as I consulted with our legal when we made this decision, that he just said, be very clear, is when you post. So when we post, if there was something in, let's say, the action-focused agenda, we would just want to be very clear what it is we're talking about, and that it's not action necessarily, but we're going to be discussing ABC, because the general expectation is the, what is the word they use, like a reasonable person. Is it clear to a reasonable person what's going on? So can someone look at our agenda and be like, oh, they're not just taking action tonight, they're going to talk about this. So we can do those things for sure. It's just a matter of making sure that we're clear in the notice and put it out there. And to the more, our situation and the immediacy of it, yeah, like I said, that component definitely, at least in the short term, will be impacted, but I think in the long term, knowing that there's other resources within her own team to help support that, we won't be forgotten.
So I might propose maybe just putting on every agenda, like facility update, and then Jordan can kind of, or you can kind of work on, filling in whatever happened in the gaps as far as transparency on the agenda.
Got it.
And have we asked them for any clear timeline of sorts, or is it just kind of?
Yep, and I honestly can't remember, and I'm not gonna fumble through my emails right now. I thought we had shared, or I had shared after I got something from Doreen that was a little bit more of a detailed timeline. If I didn't though, I will look at my emails from her and then make sure I share that, because I did ask her previously for that, and then, like I said, I thought I had shared that with the board and the admin, but perhaps I forgot. So I'll
Probably did,
check.
I don't have a clear, maybe someone else can speak to it, I feel like, maybe I'm the only one that has angst about this. But without being like, okay, June 12th is the next date, and the next, we're gonna dive into the peer groups next, and I don't have a clear conceptual timeline of like, when we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. It's one thing to say, oh, in June, this is gonna be our focus, July, this is gonna be our focus, but not really an organized conceptual model of like what the summer looks as far as this goes. And it's just concerning that even with our first task, where we really haven't even had to figure anything out, we're just figuring out how to share the information we have. We're not even actually, we're not doing anything. We're just telling people. So it's, I don't know if anyone else is feeling the same.
No, because we have until July 25th to decide what we're gonna do, right?
August.
Or August 25th, I'm sorry. So.
My work schedule is crazy, so I haven't been thinking about it as much as when I had the days off before this stretch, but,
You're the newbie too. You can.
well, but, I mean, I agree that, sometimes the time can creep up on you and all of a sudden, wow, now we're a month leaped forward, and, I guess from my personal, if we need to have ad hoc meetings of discussion, I would be okay with that myself, but I also understand that adds meetings to other people that might
And
not.
to you too.
Yeah, but I'm mowing my yard and weeding my garden as my entertainment this summer, so that's about it. And so, like, I feel like this is a once in a not that often period of time, and it's a tough decision to go or not to go. It's kind of like a D-Day event, like, look at all the things that are floating around out there, and I don't want, meetings that are grinding on, and, but if we have discussion that's productive discussion, and we need to do ad hoc meetings, because it's sort of it's a unique situation, and it's not like we're gonna have extra meetings for, referendums every year or something, so, maybe, hopefully.
Thanks.
So I guess my rambling, I'm okay if we need to add extra discussion to feel like we're on track, but I don't want to speak for everybody else.
Is everybody else pretty okay with waiting until June 8th to get the next, discussion points for this? Is everybody okay with being patient with that?
And I anticipate you'll have updates, and like I said, I thought we probably would.
It's just
If
hard
not
when
on
we
Friday.
don't talk about, it's like,
I
you
hear
send
you.
something and then
I
you
hear
can't
you.
reply all as a dialogue with a quorum outside, and so
Mhm.
it's, for somebody that likes having everybody's opinion and everybody in an engaged dialogue, that segmented virtual reality is hard.
All right, does anybody have anything else regarding the committee or board meeting dates or future meeting dates? Okay, hearing none, then we are on to item agenda number 10, which was adjournment.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Mike and Matt with the second.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Mary Beth,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you guys all for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Aye.
Might as well not.